Hello, good morning, and happy Friday to all you beautiful people of the historic Westside. Welcome to the 32nd virtual Transform Westside Summit. My name is Benjamin Earley.
And my name is Ebony Ford. 32nd. I know I say it every single time. I'm so sorry. We in here. We still here.
We got a great show planned for you today, but before we get into that, some good news, folks. The COVID numbers are finally showing a decrease in infection rates, which means more people are getting vaccinated, more people are staying healthy, more people are, doing what they have to do to protect their own health, not only their own health, but that of their loved ones and their neighbors. We encourage you, if you have not been vaccinated, by all means, think for yourself, do your own research, but we implore you, the numbers speak for themselves, folks. People who are vaccinated, you have a 0.002% chance of being hospitalized by COVID, and an even smaller chance of dying from COVID. 99.9% of the people who have died from COVID have been unvaccinated. 97% of people who have been hospitalized have been unvaccinated. The number speaks for themselves. Of course, we implore you again to do your own research, but at the end of the day, we're looking to help stop the spread of COVID-19, and we're continuing to do that through vaccinations, social distancing, and following the CDC protocols.
Absolutely.
That being said, Ebony, I'm excited for today.
Yes, I am.
I'm excited. Why don't you tell folks what we got in store for today?
I absolutely will. Today is all about Morris Brown.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. AUC in the house. So today, we are going to be hearing a devotion speaker, our Reverend Dr. Candace Lewis, who is the new President Dean of Gammon Theological Seminary, and we will also be having a panel discussion moderated by Dr. R. Candy Tate about Morris Brown College and its work to regain accreditation and restoration of Fountain Hall on the Morris Brown campus. So today we'll be getting all the updates about what they're calling the hard reset.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Hashtag the hard reset.
Yes.
And folks, anybody that's from Atlanta, especially the West Side, if you grew up in the 90s or before that, you know the legacy of the historic Morris Brown College.
Absolutely.
There was not a campus in the United States more lit, as they said these days, than Morris Brown College, to be honest. The Marching Wolverines, the Bubbling Brown Sugar, the marching band was epic. Anybody who knew marching bands, especially at HBCUs, they feared the HBCU known as Morris Brown College. And speaking of legendary campuses, Fountain Hall is its own legendary legacy in its own right, home to the offices of the great intellectual W.E.B. Du Bois.
Absolutely.
He was the first PhD, African-American PhD from Harvard University. And it's got a lot of legacies, a lot of rich history. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people who are ramping up as far as revitalizing the overall campus and the overall feel for the school, getting back to its old ways. And we're excited to have the President James here today with us to speak on the legacy of the historic Morris Brown College and the historic efforts that they're making to regain accreditation and to revitalize the school to its former greatness. And we're looking forward to hearing from all those folks today.
Yes, we are. Definitely. And before we get to that, we'd like to get down, take care of a little bit of business. So this is our Westside Future Fund bulletin. You can download it from our website, or actually, I'm sorry, we don't have a live audience today. Download it, please, the PDF from our website. Also, I'm going to call attention to our vision, mission, and value statement here at Westside Future Fund. We're always here trying to create a community that Dr. King would be proud to call home. We also want to call attention to our 2021 Board of Directors. None of our work on the Westside Future Fund could be done without this elite group of professionals, who I must also make sure I make note of that they are all volunteer. They do not get paid for any of their work here at Westside Future Fund. Also, we do have a dedicated team that works directly for the Westside Future Fund. A couple who are here today helping out, and we appreciate both teams.
That being said, it's time for us to get connected, folks. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Be sure to reach out to us if you're liking the information that we share with you via these summits. Please share it within your network, share it with your family and friends. The more people who know about the revitalization effort that's happening on the historic West Side, the more people who can benefit from it. And as we like to say here at Westside Future Fund, we like to do with the community, not to the community. And one of the staple programs for Westside Future Fund, if you're joining for the first time, is the Home on the West Side program, which offers affordable rental, as well as single family units, as well as home ownership access, as well as which you know a lot about.
Oh my gosh.
The taxpayer.
Trying not to just blurt over you. Absolutely.
Property tax relief for historic Westside residents who are legacy residents within our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
And Ebony can speak to that a little bit more.
Yes. So I am, if anyone doesn't know, the way that I got started with working with Westside Future Fund is because I am a recipient of the tax abatement program, anti-tax displacement program from home on the Westside. And so they pay our taxes for 20 years. The increase of your taxes from whatever your baseline was when you first got into the program for 20 years. I am in my 3rd year, but I always check my taxes just to make sure that they have been paid. I'm not losing my house because somebody didn't pay my taxes, okay? So I always check it anyway. And when I went on to look this year, a couple of weeks ago, taxes have jumped up a lot in the West Side.
Yeah.
I live in English Avenue, so English Avenue, Vine City, I mean, it is ridiculous. And so how blessed am I to sign on and see that my taxes are paid when they jumped up that much this year. So.
And you know what it really is about? What it really is about, folks, is ending the cycle of displacing people due to gentrification. And a lot of times, you know, we hear the word gentrification, and especially within the African American community, we automatically know that there's just a history. Unfortunately, there's a history of Black and brown people being pushed out of their neighborhoods due to what's called gentrification. And a lot of times we hear the efforts from, you know, folks saying that we want to come in and we want to invest in the neighborhood and we want to do this and do that. And a lot of us hear that as code for, oh, you're going to be out of here pretty soon.
Basically,
So what Westside Future Fund is doing is we're helping to reimagine what revitalization can look like, especially here in the historic home of the Martin Luther King Jr. and, you know, so many other historic people who have had an impact, not just in Atlanta, but around the world.
Absolutely.
And so if you want to know more about the Home on the Westside program, you can visit us at westsidefuturefund.org/Home on the Westside.
That being said, while you're looking on the website, please go ahead and register for our Home Depot and Goodwill of North Georgia gift card giveaways today. You still have a little bit of time to do that.
That's right.
Again, it's on westsidefuturefund.org. Our homepage, go to Event Spotlight, click on the RSVP button, and enter your information by 8:15 to be a part of the random drawing, again, for a Home Depot gift card and a Goodwill of North Georgia gift card.
All right. And with that being said, we're going to get right into our devotion now. We have an amazing devotional speaker this morning, Reverend Dr. Candace Lewis, who is the president and dean of Gammon Theological Seminary. She began her tenure there as the 17th president of Gammon on April 1st, 2021 of this year. So she is already making great strides in her new position and having a great impact on her community. She is Gammon's first female president dean. Wow. Worthy. The first female denominational dean in the ITC consortium. She is also Gammon Theological Seminary is the United Methodist constituent seminary of the Interdenominational Theological Center. And, you know, we begin our meetings here. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community, recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort. The time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Candace M. Lewis, and I have the privilege of being the 17th president and dean of the Gammon Theological Seminary. I am also the first woman that has been elected to this position in the school's 138-year history. I hear glass breaking everywhere. I've been invited to be a part of this transformation and transform the Westside Summit. And I know that one of the focuses of this summit is also to celebrate the hard reset that Dr. James is leading here with the Morris Brown College. I got a chance to peep around. The campus is closed, but I got a chance to see Fountain Hall. And I saw the press release that Fountain Hall had just received a $500,000 grant from the National Park Service. And I know that there's vision to leverage that grant and get other monies to be able to raise that $30 million that is needed to rebuild Fountain Hall. So as I think about a devotional text that could center our time together today, I come to the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was in the same position some 2,000 plus years ago. Nehemiah had come back to Jerusalem and he looked around and he noticed that the things that his forefathers and foremothers knew of, they were now in ruins. Nehemiah, like Dr. James, says, these walls can be rebuilt. I just have to go to the king and go to the leaders and go to those that are in authority and find partners so we can rebuild these walls. So the scripture text comes from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verses 17 through 18. Hear now the word of the Lord. Then I said to them, do you see the trouble that we are in? Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come. There always has to be, once there's an assessment of what the surrounding area looks like, there has to be an invitation. Nehemiah invited. Dr. James is inviting. Dr. Candy Tate is inviting. Everybody that's a part of this summit, you have either been invited or you're somebody that is inviting other people to be a part of this rebuilding that is happening on the west side. So come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem so we will no longer be in disgrace. Nehemiah then says, I also told them that the gracious hand of our God is upon me. And when the leaders heard that, then here's what they said next. And just like we know the gracious hand of the Lord is upon Nehemiah, we know that same hand of God is on the leaders in this moment, the leaders that are leading here at Morris Brown and the leaders that are leading every aspect of this summit. Then the reply was, let us start rebuilding. And then they began to do that great work. Let us, not let you, not let me, not let him, them, they, no they, us. Let us start rebuilding, and then the people started this good work. Friends, we've been invited to do a good work and be a part of a good work in this time and in this season. This vision for the West Side is huge. This vision for Morris Brown College's hard reset rebuilding is huge. Rebuilding Fountain Hall is huge. And here's where we began. We began because we agreed to do it together. Let us begin this good work. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Thank you so much for that inspirational message. John, what did you think about it?
That was amazing. Short, but powerful, succinct.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the calling out and the metaphor of rebuilding Morris Brown College, you know, along with the metaphor with Nehemiah. So thank you, Reverend Dr. Lewis, for that devotion this morning, and really love the fact she was out at the campus as well.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's a historic campus. I've driven past there a few times recently. I'm loving the new development that they have going on. They've already begun the restoration process of the legendary Fountain Hall. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that, you know, continues to progress over time. And, you know, you have anything you have excitement about? I know we have a lot, but anything in particular you're looking forward to hearing from our panel today?
I'm looking forward to hearing about the hard reset.
All right.
I actually live on Sunset in Vine City.
Right.
So you know, literally if I walk out my front door and look to my left, I can see Fountain Hall, and I can see other parts of the Morris Brown campus. And, you know, driving down MLK and recognizing driving through so much great history, you know, to see all that reactivated again would be amazing. Absolutely.
Well, it's time for our social check-in. Again, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please leave a comment in the comment section. Share the video on your profile page. Help us spread the word about this amazing work that's going on.
Yeah, we want where people check in, right? Because if we were back, and we're hoping to be in the beginning of 2022 back in person again. Hopefully there's not another variant that comes along, but be back in person again. But right now is where we would be doing our introductions.
Right.
So so this is where we want, if people are watching,
absolutely,
type in their name or something, right?
So typically when we were in person, we would have people here at the gathering spot and we would pass the mic. And obviously with COVID being what it is right now, we're unable to do that. So the virtual version of that is just give us a nice Friday morning greeting from wherever you are in the comment section below. Just let us know that you're watching. Let us know that you're happy to hear from us.
Are you going to do any names? Can you see any names?
Let's see. On YouTube right now, we got...
We're going to test your ability right now
on
your phone.
Look, 2021 technology,
I've seen you do this
baby.
Before.
Miss Cynthia Wright, Blossom Game, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. Mario Murphy, thank you for joining. Future Mayor of Atlanta, Waukesha Howe, thank you for joining us.
All right.
Shout out to all our parent Avengers. We know you all tune in every single summit. Thank you so much for being such a
They're
loyal
our platinum
fan base.
viewers.
And all of the work that they're doing in the community, you know, the parent Avengers help to, they help parents within the Washington cluster who are starting their own businesses, starting nonprofits, and they do a lot of excellent work as far as taking care of those folks.
And I know as parents, they're incredibly active in advocating on behalf of themselves as parents, but other parents in terms of their needs.
Absolutely.
And the things that they need to be successful, yeah.
Indeed. Let's see who's watching on Facebook. We got Miss Tanya Coventry Strader. Thank you so much for tuning in. Diana Palmer Price, thank you. Miss Faye Hammonds, thank you for tuning in. Sean Jenkins Young, thank you for tuning in. Gigi Sands, I see you every time, Gigi Sands. Thank you for tuning in and being such a loyal fan and community member here. Justine Robinson, thank you for tuning in. Again, Sherry Belil, Parent Avenger, thanks for tuning in. And I know, you know, wherever Waukesha and Sherry are, you know,
right.
Ms. Valerie Williams isn't too far away, right?
Right.
So thank you all for tuning in. Kurt Collier, thank you for tuning in. We got a lot of folks tuning in right now on Facebook and YouTube. Again, whether
Thanks
you're
for
joining
watching.
just now, go ahead and drop a comment, a nice Friday morning greeting. We're looking forward to continuing to stay engaged with you.
Yeah, so now, yeah, thanks everyone, you know, for watching. And now I think for the next part of our program, we're getting ready for our panel discussion.
Correct.
And if you, hopefully, you know, can pull off our website, already have it, our bulletin. And in the bulletin, you'll find the full bio, the bios of our very distinguished speakers this morning. I'm going to introduce our first one, who's going to be our moderator, and then she's going to come up and then pull the rest of the speakers up. And we have she has a great program. I actually want to thank Dr. Candy Tate. You know, she called me a couple months ago and said we're ready to talk about Morris Brown College and some of the history and some of the recent wins working with the National Park Service. I said, fantastic. And when I came this morning, I said, this was a great program for us because she did so much to make it happen. So
right.
all the guests and all the videos y'all are about to see, that's all thanks to Dr. Candy Tate. And she is the CEO of Cultural Centers International and the ATL MLK Main Street Coordinator. And so the full bio is in our bulletin. But when I first started my work with the Westside Future Fund, I met Dr. Candy Tate, and what I really appreciate about you, and folks should know, is she's a scholar of the history on the West Side, especially around the topic you're going to hear this morning, but she's also an activist. And so she fights for that history. She fights that the history to be remembered. She fights for that history to be lifted up. And a few times kind of maybe feeling the force of her advocacy. I know it's real, I know it's sincere, and I know it makes a tremendous difference for things that might otherwise have been forgotten but need to be remembered. So thank you so much for what you do on behalf of the West Side and our history in Atlanta. And so we want you coming up, and we'll let you introduce the rest of the speakers. So the program this morning is she'll be talking to the various speakers she's about to introduce, and she's got some great videos we're gonna show as well. So Dr. Tate, turn it to you.
And John, before you go away,
Uh-oh.
I have a gift for you.
I'm worried I messed up my introduction. I was about to get in trouble. Oh, awesome.
So we want you, on behalf of the Friends of Fountain Hall, to know that Fountain Hall forever.
All right, thank you.
That you are appropriately adorned, so when you get out of your house and look at Fountain Hall, it can also look at you.
Yeah, and the color's going to make me look cooler than I really am. This is great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I would like to thank you again this morning and bring up our guest panelist. First, we have Dr. Rodney Cohen, an adjunct professor at Morehouse College. He's a scholar, activist as well, and fundraiser. He's the author of Black Colleges of Atlanta and Fisk University, a native of Atlanta, Georgia, finished Douglas High School. Dr. Cohen. Next, we have President Kevin E. James. Dr. James is the 19th president of Morris Brown College, founded in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church. Morris Brown is the only college founded by blacks for blacks on the Atlanta University Center campus. In his role as CEO, he's responsible for the leadership and management of all aspects of the college operations, and he's responsible for the development and execution of the vision and the strategic direction of that college in concert with the Board of Trustees. He is a native of South Carolina. He's a musician and a father, and we welcome you to the stage. Next, we have Dr. Lula Ballton. Dr. Ballton is a dear friend and colleague and serves on the board of Culture Centers International. Dr. Ballton began her work at West Angeles Community Development Corporation, part of the Kojic Church. She's the author of several books, one of which we're going to talk about today. And next we have, her husband is Carl Ballton, and they have children and grandchildren, and those grandchildren are the reason why she left LA, the West Coast, and came south. So we're happy that your grandchildren pulled you here. Next we have Mr. Irvin Henderson. Mr. Henderson is CEO of Henderson and Company. He's redeveloping the historic New Granada Theater in Hill CDC at the historic Hill District in Pittsburgh. He's working in Birmingham with the Masonic Temple and the A.G. Gaston office building in Birmingham, as well as some mixed-use properties in Florida. Irv Henderson is a native of Henderson, North Carolina. His wife, Vanessa, and he's the father of Julian, Justin, and Jeremy. And his degree in accounting and business administration is from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Good morning, our distinguished panel.
Good morning.
I think now we're going to turn it over to a video by Reverend Dr. Skip Mason.
We tend to think locally. We own, Fountain Hall and that, but there are some aspects that belong to the world, and I think we saw that very clearly most recently during the celebration, if you will, or observance of Dr. King's funeral and the historic march from Ebenezer to Morehouse's campus, which was adjacent to Atlanta University and Clark, but how the world came through Hunter Street at the time and past the historic building, and Fountain Hall had the best view of them all, the bridge. There were many people who chimed in on remembrances and memories of standing in front of Sarah Allen Quadrangle or on the bridge or leaning out of Fountain Hall. And as the whole world, entertainers, celebrities, future presidents, former presidents all passed through it. This is much larger than us, and we have to treat, Fountain Hall, the entire campus, but that which we still have, as it is a part of Atlanta's story. And as we continue to reach national appeal, that we paint the larger picture of connecting Morris Brown, Atlanta University, Fountain Hall, with those things that were going on in the city. Gaines Hall, formerly North Hall, even though it's barely standing, I believe, and I'll go on record, I think based on some old research that I had, is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, still standing building in the entire city of Atlanta, not just in the Atlanta University Center, but in the entire city. We adhere to that, and so I can support the Dr. Tate and the Sala and the Friends of Fountain Hall with funds to be raised for the building. But at the Fountain Hall, we got to certainly pray and hope that something is done with Gaines Hall as well.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Skip Mason. Your history of Morris Brown and you being an alum just brings it home for us. And Dr. Cohen, the history of Fountain Hall is really a long and rich history, but it starts with Atlanta University. And you have a book called The Black Colleges of Atlanta. Share with us that history.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Dr. Tate. As you mentioned, the current building, Fountain Hall, on the campus of Morris Brown College, actually has its roots in Atlanta University, that was the oldest of the AU Center schools. And in this image here that we see an image of Fountain Hall, which was then known as Stone Hall at Atlanta University, founded in 1882, and it is the building in the center, flanked by North Hall to the right and South Hall to the left. And what I want to mention in this regard is that although at this point we're focusing on Fountain Hall, it's also important to know that North Hall, currently known as Gaines Hall, was actually the first building on the Atlanta University campus around 1869, a few years after the Civil War. And in fact, it was built by the first architect after the Civil War in Atlanta in an Italianate style. Next, I want to mention W.B. Du Bois, who was a preeminent scholar, as we all know, and he was a professor at Atlanta University twice. In his first iteration at AU, his office was in Stone Hall at the time. And in fact, much of his scholarly work, his seminal work, as we well know, was actually published in this building, including his 1903 piece, The Souls of Black Folk. What I also want to point out is that Stone Hall at the time, and will continue on throughout its history, was a centerpiece for activity on the campus. As you see here, many activities such as plays. This was a play, The Taming of the Shrew, that took place at Atlanta University, along with other activities at Stone Hall. So it has been a continuous centerpiece in the Westside community, the Atlanta University community, and now Morris Brown College. I wanted to point out also around World War I, Atlanta University, and particularly Stone Hall in this case, / Fountain Hall, was a centerpiece for many black soldiers and officers who were being trained. Atlanta University was one of those few institutions around the country, HBCUs, that were training black officers and soldiers for World War I. All right, I want to mention here Dr. John Hope, Dr. Tate. Dr. Hope was the first black president of Morehouse in 1906, but he was very instrumental in what we now know as the creation of the Atlanta University Center. In 1929, he was tapped out by the General Education Board and some other philanthropists and board members to serve as the kind of administrator of the Atlanta University system, which was founded in 1929, that included initially Atlanta University, Spelman, and Morehouse colleges. Morris Brown would come into the fold around the 30s, and along with Clark College in the 1940s. Now this is important because now we get to understand how did Morris Brown land where they are currently physically. Morris Brown originally was on Boulevard and moved over once AU's old campus became vacant, Dr. Tate, because it transformed into a strictly graduate institution after the Atlanta University Center affiliation. That campus was left vacant. Morris Brown at that time was looking to expand. They also wanted closer proximity to the AU system to take advantage of the combined resources. So as a result, they were able to come to a deal with AU and move over to the current campus where Morris Brown currently exists since the 1930s. And this is important because now Morris Brown has continued that legacy of the old AU campus up until today. And it is important that we're talking about the hard reset. And if you will, we also having a hard reset of Fountain Hall / Old Stone Hall. It's important to know, as was mentioned earlier, anybody in the Westside community can see Stone Hall or Fountain Hall due to its prominent positions being on one of the highest hills in Atlanta.
Diamond Hill.
Diamond Hill, yes. You're correct. So this is just not the personal property of Morris Brown and Brownites. or those old AU grads, but this is the property, if you will, of the Westside, the city of Atlanta, and in many regards, the nation, because this was one of the first HBCUs and institutions in the country with a building of this significance. So I just want to close out there and say that, you know, we hope that the audience begins to spread the word about not just the work that we're trying to do at Fountain Hall, but also the hard reset and the work that President James is doing over at Morris Brown College.
Wonderful. The image of the theater folks. So the theater department was actually run by Adrienne Herndon, wife of Alonzo Herndon. So, you know, she was a professor of elocution.
Yes.
And would have plays on the steps of Stone Hall.
Sure.
But she would also do productions on the roof of their mansion.
Sure.
So, you know, so one of the first women, and as they say, I always like to call out the women of history and note, because she had to come back to Atlanta after trying to perform in the North, and they found that her husband was African American. She wasn't passing, but she wasn't saying she was or wasn't.
Sure.
But then she ended up having to come back and leave her theatrical career.
Well, to that point, the quick side on the sisters there, as we well know, as Morris Brown was coming out of Big Bethel or Wheat Street AME Church, as it was referred to before Big Bethel. Mary McCree was tapped out to be, if you will, the first principal, or what would be today president of Morris Brown College. Right. As she marched over to the current Morris Brown site with about 27 students or so, and linked up with some adult students, and they marched over from Big Bethel to the current site, 107 strong, if you will. So, it's good to mention that. And she was an Atlanta University grad as well, the first principal of Morris Brown.
So we were lifting as we climbed.
Exactly.
Excellent, excellent. What I'd like to do next is have us look at another video.
Whatever you pass it down to.
I thank Dr. Tate, who is my colleague that we had over the years at preservation conventions, who got me involved by showing me the campus when we were there for an ASALH convention. I'm also a member of the ASALH group. And so she's the one that introduced me to the possibilities of Fountain Hall. When I saw the building, I was just astounded that it was a historic building of epic proportions and that it needed care. And I said, you know, we need to do something about that. So at that time, Gaines Hall was still standing. And I said, these buildings are vacant. Man, we got to get these things back in service. She wrote grants that got us $1 million from the National Park Service. And we put in place a stabilization plan to, first of all, stop the water intrusion from the rain.
Amen.
So that the building wouldn't just deteriorate from the inside. So right as we're speaking, the roof is 100% complete. And we are now waiting on the restoration of the bell. We had to send the bell parts for remanufacturing. Basically, the stand on which the bell swings was sort of old and deteriorating. So we had to make sure we had something that we could mount the bell on to restore its function. At the same time, we're looking at new technology for the clocks, very new high-tech motors and clock faces to restore the clock. And hopefully by March, we'll have all of that work done on the clock. Just for your information, about 4,000 man-hours of work went into that roof restoration. Another 765 hours went into managing the project. We look forward to getting additional grants to help us move to the next phase. We have selected an architect who is a firm called Moody & Nolan out of Ohio. And we interviewed 10 firms and they came out cream of the crop. So we're looking forward to getting to the point where we know what it actually will cost to restore the entire building. And we know that's a big number and a lot of moving parts. So At the end of the day, we will know what we need to know, and we'll be able to raise funds and get the job done.
And yes, we're working to get the job done, and we're doing that with Dr. Kevin James. And the we is the Atlanta branch of ASALH, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. You've heard my name a lot, but it is actually through this national organization founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson that we are able to partner and write these grants in partnership with the National Park Service and with the vision and direction of you, Dr. James. So tell us about the hard reset and how Fountain Hall factors into your strategic plan for accreditation.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Westside Future Fund for having us here today. I'm so honored to serve as the 19th president of Morris Brown College. And when I came to the institution, I thought long and hard about how can we move this institution forward. We need a very strong mantra, if you will. And I thought back to a sermon that my pastor preached, and he preached a sermon called The Hard Reset. And he was using the analogy of, if something's going on with your phone, you do a soft reset. But if you need to wipe everything clean and start anew, you do what's called a hard reset. And I said, wow, that is absolutely what Morris Brown College has to do. Right. And so we put out the call, and it's been with us since I began as the 19th president of Morris Brown College. It's not just a fancy saying, it's not just a hashtag, it's absolutely what we had to do to be able to start the restoration of dear old Morris Brown College. Morris Brown is the first and only historical black college founded by black people in the state of Georgia. We could not allow this institution to die. And 9.9 times out of 10, when an institution loses its accreditation, specifically a black institution, it's a death sentence. That institution is gone forever. And so for Morris Brown to be able to survive 20 years without our accreditation is a sign that God has been with this institution and is still with this institution all the way back since 1881. And so I'm just so honored to be the president. I'm honored to push forward. The team and myself, we pushed ahead through some very difficult obstacles. Obstacles that any other institution probably would have been closed forever. And so we are doing the hard reset. We are back. We're honored to be able to work with the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools. We just became a candidate for accreditation. We're very excited about that. Our application for accreditation was approved in November of 2020. In January of 2021, their team visited Morris Brown College, stayed for an entire week, went through all of our documents, our finances, our facilities, our faculty, our staff, everything A to Z. And they determined that we are an institution of quality, that we deserve a second shot. And on April 13th of this year, we became a candidate for accreditation, which basically is synonymous with the word quality. We're now eligible to apply for federal financial aid, and we just submitted that application. And we hope to hear any day now that Morris Brown College federal financial aid and financial programs has been reinstated. So we're just very, very happy. The hard reset is upon us.
And so with that hard reset and the visit by tracks to campus, seeing some movement on Fountain Hall, I'm sure that helped.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Seeing our facilities, they went through our facilities, and they noticed that we were putting a new roof on Fountain Hall. Fountain Hall is the iconic symbol of our institution. It's even the logo of our institution. And, I liken it to strength and perseverance. Built by former slaves in 1882, we're absolutely gonna need Fountain Hall to be restored. We need classroom space, because once we get our accreditation, full accreditation, once we get federal financial aid, we're going to need a place for students to congregate and learn. And so Fountain Hall is absolutely a part of our restoration. It's a part of our accreditation and our forward movement of the restoration of Morris Brown College.
Wonderful. Are there, how can those listening
Yes.
Help Morris Brown?
Yes. Well, they can always go out and tell the story. Hey, have you heard that Morris Brown College is back, that they're working to become fully accredited, that they've received their accreditation candidacy? Have you heard that they've applied for federal financial aid? Have you heard that they're growing? In 2019, spring of 2019, we had 20 students. Today we have 75 students, and we grew during a global pandemic. And so that's just a testament of the forward movement of the institution and the momentum of the institution. And of course, as the chief fundraiser, I'm always going to say, listen, please give to Morris Brown College. Anyone who's watching or listening can go to our website, morrisbrown.edu. Click on that give button, and please pour into Morris Brown College and be a part of the Hard Reset.
Now, there's a little thing, we all know that the campus was lit back in the day, but homecoming is coming up.
Yes.
And it's about to be lit again, right?
Yes, absolutely. Our homecoming, October 23rd, we will have a safe in-person homecoming. We will have COVID testing, we'll do social distancing, masks, all of the like, but we will have homecoming. Please go to our website, you can see the week list of events, but we will have homecoming on October the 23rd. And please, everyone is invited to attend our gala Friday night, October 22nd. We'll be at the Hyatt. Again, go to our website, morrisbrown.edu. You can see all the information.
So the community can get involved.
Absolutely.
Yes. And what is the vision post, so we get accredited, now what?
Yes, well, we grow, we expand. We go back to what our founders envisioned, that we would be a quality institution leading here in the country, leading our future leaders to go out in the world and be phenomenal contributing citizens. We want to make sure that we are providing a phenomenal education, that we are what we call ourselves a haven for all hungry souls. That's a line from my alma mater.
Right.
And the second line of that alma mater says, and feeding them shall be our goal. And so we want to make sure that we're providing a quality education to anyone who desires to go out in the world and be able to compete.
And one of those specialty degrees is esports?
Yes,
So
yes,
tell
yes.
us-
We've started several programs, revived all of our programs, but we have two brand new programs, esports performance. Esports is a billion-dollar industry. Atlanta is one of the top esports cities in the world where folks can go out. And we wanted to provide a pipeline of black and brown talent to lead in esports. So we started this new degree program, esports. And then we've also revived our hospitality program. We're going to be building a hotel at Morris Brown College. We partnered with CGI Merchant Group, Hilton Hotel, in which we're going to be building a $30 million hotel at Morris Brown College, where our students work inside the hotel, get hands-on experience, and we're very, very excited about that as well. Anyone who's interested in Morris Brown, again, go to our website, and you can see all of our academic programs on our website.
Fabulous, fabulous. And at homecoming, we will test the bell.
Absolutely. We're so excited about that. Yes, we cannot wait till homecoming so we can ring that bell. And I think that that's going to be a very strong sign to all of our alumni that we are about business, and this institution is absolutely moving forward.
The hard
So
reset.
The hard reset. Very
you.
iconic.
Thank you. So I would love to cue up my sister sorors in red, as an AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. We have our Women in Red of Delta Sigma Theta video to share with you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Candy Tate, and I'm a co-chair for the Friends of Fountain Hall and a member of the Atlanta branch of ASALH. ASALH is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, and it was founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1915, so the national organization is well over 100 years old. In 2015, the theme was Hallowed Grounds, Sites of African American Memory. And so that's what inspired me to write these grants. We have received well over $1 million. And if, for those of you who are in Atlanta, have had a chance to drive by historic Fountain Hall. You see that the roof has been replaced, and that we're going to do a mighty work to raise the funds to bring the entire building back online, is what the purpose of Friends of Fountain Hall is all about. So we are hosted by the Morris Brown Focus Group. Each month on fourth Friday, we celebrate some aspect of the campus of Morris Brown College and the connection to Fountain Hall. And so this beautiful Friday, fourth Friday fellowship on March 26th is we are uplifting the dynamic Sisters in Red of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. To do that, I would love to introduce a committee member, Sister Judith Hunt. And she is a faithful friend of Fountain Hall and a Morris Brown Focus Group member. So I'm turning it over to you, Sister Judith.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Sorors. I'm Judith Hunt, and I arrived early at Morris Brown in 1970. I was a participant in the Marching Wolverines. And as a freshman, all of my classes were in Fountain Hall. And Fountain Hall was such a beautiful building. And I can't forget about all the stained glass windows that was there in the chapel. In 1976, after I graduated, I joined the Atlanta Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and later I became a member of Sisters in Red for MBC.
What instrument did you play?
E-flat alto saxophone. I would like to introduce my soror of Florence Watkins, class of 1951.
Hi, sorors and friends. My name is Alphonse Watkins, and I arrived at Morris Brown College in 1947, all excited with great anticipation and a little bit of anxiety. The next day, all the freshmen arrived, all from over the country. We were told that this was one of the largest freshman class that Morris Brown had had. At that time, we have all these soldiers coming home, and they were coming back to school. And then in the line registering, I saw 3 of my high school classmates, and that made me feel so good. I knew then I was really in the place for me. My major classes were all at Fountain Hall. I was crowned Miss Morris Brown for 1951.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from soror Doris Fuller.
Thank you, Judith. And good evening, everyone. I'm Doris Fuller, President of Sisters in Red for MBC. So let's get to my first experience in Fountain Hall. That year, all of the freshmen had to attend freshman orientation, and that took place in the chapel. We had also attended Vesper every Sunday. We had to attend chapel in the chapel 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, or 1 day a week, depending on your classification, in the chapel as well. But one of the most exciting moments of my freshman year experience was the day when we met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was present in the chapel. To this day, my college classmate Barbara Linda and I cannot figure out why Dr. King was in the chapel, but he was there. And it was one of the most exciting times that we experienced as freshmen. So, to the Friends of Fountain Hall, on behalf of the Sisters in Red for MBC, we appreciate this opportunity to share. Thank you.
those dynamic sisters in red, they're doing it and joining the Friends of Fountain Hall as we join Dr. James in the hard reset. I also, as they say, reached across my sorority and women's organization connections to ask Dr. Lula Ballton to join the team and become a friend of Fountain Hall because of her work in Los Angeles. Dr. Ballton, share with us your instrumental efforts to community build and restore that area.
First, I want to thank you for the invitation to be here today. I'm excited about what's going on at Fountain Hall. I'm excited about what's going on the west side of Atlanta. I am from Los Angeles, and my small efforts started a little community development corporation to identify the assets in our community. Very often we get a list that the government tells you what's wrong here. And we began by saying, what's right here? Who was here? Who is here? What do we have? We have libraries. We had USC. We had all kinds of things. But when you heard Crenshaw, you heard South Central. You heard Riot. And so we began to take the image of our own community back. And that's where we began. The idea of what we're doing on the west side is that same kind of movement. So I'm excited to be a part of the Fountain Hall Development Group. I'm excited about the clock, the windows, and everything that speaks of not just who we were, but who we are. I brought a little video along with me today to show some of the things that happened to make Crenshaw a quick way to get to the airport. From that to now being one of the most treasured places and wanted places in Los Angeles. We have made efforts to make sure that if it was gentrified, it was gentrified by the genteel people who are black and brown people in Los Angeles. So my excitement about being here with Morris Brown, I have some deep AME roots and some family members on another time that I'd like to talk about who went to Morris Brown, but being a part of the development group for, excuse me, for Fountain Hall is the kind of work you do with community development. In my book, Extraordinary Ministry in Ordinary Places, it's a simple how-to. If you want to do it, get the book, lulabalton.com, but more importantly, occupy the space you're in. Don't run from it, don't sell it, don't count it cheap, occupy. And with that, I'd like to show you some of the things we've done at West Angeles CDC in Los Angeles.
Since 1994, West Angeles Community Development Corporation has been a leading catalyst for the revitalization and stabilization of communities in South Los Angeles. The CDC has grown from humble beginnings and a staff of 2 employees to a thriving organization with an assortment of effective community programs focused on a diversity of needs. Today, the West Angeles Community Development Corporation offers a wide variety of community assistance programs.
I'm especially proud of 400 units of housing that we brought to the community. I'm proud of the 15,000 people within the last 12 months that we've been able to bring emergency services and assistance to.
As the compassionate expression of the West Angeles Church of God in Christ, presiding Bishop Charles E. Blake, the CDC uses an holistic approach to alleviate the effects of poverty throughout the community, providing access and opportunity to empower the population it serves. Offering volunteer tax assistance, free legal advice, and entrepreneurial training, the CDC guides local residents toward a more secure financial future.
In 2010, I took the entrepreneurial class, and that has really helped me launch my business, especially in the catering department. It's helped me for my inventory, think about location, and just all the components of putting a business together. I would highly suggest this for anybody to take this entrepreneurial class.
The CDC has a commitment to empowering the youth of South Los Angeles. Events like Manhood 101, provide resources and practical advice to teens about navigating their path to higher education and securing the preparation needed to succeed in a modern world. The neighborhoods of South Los Angeles were acutely affected by the recent upheaval in the housing market. In response, West Angeles CDC has stepped up its efforts to support homeownership as an anchor of healthy communities.
Homeownership, we believe, is the cornerstone of building communities, and it really starts with the individual and with the family, and the efforts that we do in educating borrowers is really critical to sustaining homeownership and to sustaining neighborhoods.
They're gonna teach you all the steps that you need to buy a house. I mean, everything from finding a lender to getting an agent. They were very instrumental in helping me complete the whole process of buying a house. I have already recommended it to a number of people.
In addition, West Angeles CDC has continued its development of the Crenshaw Corridor, with West Angeles Plaza a shining example that demonstrates the benefits of bringing resources and services to an underserved neighborhood.
This is a great building and a wonderful testament to the vision of what can happen when a community organization and the private sector work together to make sure that the community has what it deserves.
Faithfully embracing the challenges of the future, West Angeles Community Development Corporation continues its mission to increase social and economic justice, to demonstrate compassion and alleviate poverty as a tangible expression of the kingdom of God.
I said, let us march on to victory. Victory is won.
Dr. Ballton, thank you for that video. So I got an opportunity to come visit your work in the area and came back to Atlanta as a native, where my grandfather took me to Pascal's, my grandmother banked at Citizens Trust. I'm a fourth generation Atlanta University Center alum, but with those legacies comes great responsibility.
Yes.
And so what did you, I remember us touring, but when I asked you, could I see what you were doing, you developed that into a tour for everybody, for some more folks. So what are the things that you've seen in West Angeles that we could apply here in Atlanta?
One of the greatest things I think we can apply here in Atlanta is to tell our own story. President explained before, having other people tell your story is not your story. It becomes their story. So one of the things we can do is tell our own story, raise our own money. One of the early successes we had was raising money through writing proposals to get grants, to having events, but valuing who we are, our gifts, our skills, our talents, and then making it contractual. I can get a grant from the city to do something perhaps it's the city supposed to be doing anyway, taking care of the indigent, the poor, the homeless, those who don't have. That's a job of the government. The moment we take on government jobs, then we should have a contract with them to be providers of that service, as opposed to begging them to help us help them do their job. And I think as we tell our own story, we begin to see our logistics a little differently. There's so many exciting and beautiful places and people on the west side of Atlanta, and your story is much longer and denser than the African Americans in Los Angeles is, where the population of black people is less than 9%. When you watch TV, you wouldn't know it, but we're a very small fraction. Here in Atlanta, here at the AUC, at Morris Brown, the West Side, we have a legacy, something to be proud of, to continue, but we've taught our children to grow up, get a good job, and get out of here. We need to rethink that story, because when they got out of here, they hit all kinds of ceilings, sometimes glass, sometimes brick, but there were ceilings. There's no ceiling at home. So if we esteem where we are as much as we esteem who we are, then our little leagues will have our names on the back of them. Our streets will be named after our heroes, and everybody's welcome. but you're welcome to come to our house. And I think that's where we on the West Side are working to have everybody's welcome to our house.
I love it. Yes, West Side is the best side.
All day.
Yay. And next, I guess the question would be, I know I've worked to develop the Atlanta MLK Main Street. As you say, tell our story. Well, our story starts with our, our native son, Dr.
Yes.
Martin Luther King Jr., born on Auburn Avenue, but his adult home is right here on Sunset off of MLK. The street that was West Hunter has now been renamed for him. And we need to work with the Westside Future Fund and others to make the beloved community just that. Do you have some ideas on how we might go about it from a Christian perspective?
I do. I think as a common mission, we can use the second chapter of Nehemiah. And Nehemiah left the suburbs. He left Nebuchadnezzar. He left the good life to come home. And even in the scripture, it asks, why would you do that? Why would you leave the palace to come back here where the streets aren't right and the wall is crumbling? And he said in the King James Version, so that my people will no longer be a reproach. And I think that's where we might want to begin, because we have allowed other people to decide who we are. And the mission of the CDC I started was to increase social and economic justice, to demonstrate compassion, to alleviate poverty, and we did those as a tangible expression of the kingdom of God. There are different ways to do it. We use community development. So developing individuals, but developing the systems, developing the neighborhoods, and it was a self-development. When we looked at our assets, we hired high school students, go block by block, learn every person that's an asset, every business that's an asset, every structure that's an asset, and we began there. And though we started with a $5,000 grant from the Mustard Seed Foundation, I started with just an idea when I went to my pastor and said, perhaps we should not be the object of other people's charity. Perhaps our music should be something we sell instead of get to sing for other people. And he began to agree with me, and then he said, go do it, Ballton. It was a long and interesting trip. Our operating budget now is about $3.5 million for a little church outreach ministry. It is self-sustaining. We don't get resources from the church tithes and offerings. We have contracts and really have worked to transform that Crenshaw corridor, if you know Los Angeles, from the 10 freeway down to Inglewood. And blessed be God, we have been successful. So now there are 5 schools there that are new. People are trying to get in, and there's a greater demand to be in our house. It's no longer a place of people of reproach. It's not where people are trying to get away from. They're trying to get into. And I see that happening on the west side of Atlanta. Though we complain about some of it, the equity is high, the taxes are high, but that means the equity is high. That means my house is worth more. So I'm not leaving it. I'm not selling it because it's worth more. It just means that our whole neighborhood, the whole ship can rise when we address it for everyone. And I think we can apply that. I know we can apply it, and I'm seeing it work. I'm seeing Morris Brown come back. I'm seeing people revitalizing their families' homes, finding ways to stay until they're in a financial position to sustain it like they would like to, building businesses right here so they don't have to commute, building better schools inside. We have some lovely buildings, but we had sent all our good teachers away, or many of them to other places, but welcoming them back with salaries and benefits. So just begin to look at and treat our own community as someplace we are on this ship together. Let's make it rise.
And a quote that I'm quoting from Dr. Cohen, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
And that's what we're up to. And how we're doing it, and again, as I developed my nonprofit, it was about how was I going to be unique in this effort to help all the others and our total community, and that involved historic preservation. Yes. And the next gentleman showed me 2016 in Savannah. He was a speaker for the National Trust for Historic Preservation, that historic preservation is economic development.
Yes.
Irv Henderson.
Well, good morning. And I want to thank the ASALA, the Atlanta branch of ASALA. I want to thank the Westside Futures Fund, and I want to thank Dr. Tate for putting this together and having us this morning. Because we cannot be talking about the kind of restoration, the kind of community building that Dr. Ballton and the rest of our panelists here have talked about without talking about historic preservation. As we look at the majestic hall, as we look at the Fountain Hall, sometimes referred to in the past as Stone Hall, what we see is a symbol, as Dr. James said, of the university. But we also see an incredible building where incredible things happened, and that is historic preservation. The building and the built environment is one aspect, and we'll talk about that. But the most important thing from an Afrocentric point of view for historic preservation are the kinds of things that happened there. And I think we'll certainly see that. So let's talk about the whole development process. How do we bring back Fountain Hall? What are the kinds of things that we have to do? And very simply, we start with the development process itself. From a regulatory standpoint, if we're going to get the capital needed to be able to do all the wonderful things to both restore and rehab, because in this case we use both treatments, then that incredible process begins really with the regulatory entities. We have to both deal with the State Historic Preservation Office, we have to deal with the National Park Service, and we can't forget about the City of Atlanta's own planning and zoning. This is a construction project, so it has to meet the codes and the efforts put forth by the regulators here in Atlanta. We also have to make sure that the capital comes to the project. So in this case, yes, we'll be using tax credits. We will also have a senior note, a loan. We will work with gifts from corporate entities who want to see this kind of building serve again. And of course, the grants that you have so artfully put in place for us. I mean, Dr. Tate is one of the most gifted grant writers, which takes both vision, technique, and persistence. And you have all three. And then when we think about the preservation, we're talking about the character-defining features of Fountain Hall. The bell tower, the clock, all of the interiors, the amazing office where I stood at the desk of W.E.B. Du Bois. As Dr. James has said, it is the revitalization of the entire university as we deal with the revitalization of the buildings. They're hand in hand because they represent the strength of each other. Now, the capital stack itself, and this is for all of the folks who want to do preservation, small or large, you're going to have to figure out ways to bring equity to the table. Most of the time, our facilities cannot be supported just by debt. So we work with things like the New Markets tax credits. By the way, who were just, the New Market credits were just announced by the Community Development Financial Institution Fund. And many folks now are scrambling to get the scarce New Market tax credits. Our building will be a serious competitor for all kinds of tax credits because of its history, but as well because of its future. And then the historic tax credits themselves represent 20% of the capital required for the building. On the state level, it represents 25%. So these are significant tax credits both on the federal and the state level. And then of course there's sponsor equity. Equity that we bring to the table, equity that Morris Brown is a part of, and that helps us move to a full capital stack. Now we will have some debt, we have to. So there's mezzanine debt, which is simply a way of saying debt that goes away quickly. perhaps as quick as 5 or 6 or 7 years. And then there's the source loan, which is typically a longer loan, but because it's used to leverage the new market tax credits, is also a 7-year loan. Working with foundations and corporations, we can bring in something called a program-related investment. This is where an entity like a major foundation, like a Kresge Foundation, might make a grant to the project, but also can make a small or large loan in which the interest rate is only 1 or 2%, and perhaps the period of time is a very short period of time. And then sometimes a program-related investment is forgiven by a large foundation. So as you see, as we really look at all of these pieces, the most important thing is that we have to put together a team of professionals that know every aspect of doing this. This is technical reconstruction. You cannot make mistakes. We've also got to have the soft side, the soft cost. So the architects, the accountants, the attorneys, indeed the engineers, those folks will give us a sustainable building that we can count on and we can feel great about. The construction process will either work with a construction manager at risk or a general contractor that will give us a guaranteed max contract. We don't like change orders. We like to know how much things are going to cost, and we like them to cost the same thing you told us when you started. Very important. Finally, the tenant mix. Morris Brown is our anchor institution. We will have the classrooms, the offices that Dr. James talked about. We will also be able to work with other income from events and all kinds of great things that will happen in the Great Chapel. The chapel will have a state-of-the-art audio-visual environment, much like we're seeing here at the Gathering Spot, who we also want to thank for hosting us today. This incredible environment will have technologically specific ways to bring the best kind of performances. It will be digital, so consequently you can do things there and broadcast them to the world as we're doing today. Finally, to maintain the institution and the facility over time, there will be an encouragement to create the same kind of sustainability that Dr. Ballton talked about, which means that you have to have endowment type gifts that sustain the college, that sustain Fountain Hall. And that sustainability even speaks to the energy usage of the facility. Yes, this will be a green building. And yes, the most significant green building is one that you don't have to rebuild, one that you start with as an historic institution. But there are passive house standards that mean you have great air, you have filtered air. And in our pandemic time, the filtration of the air we breathe is very important. But you also have natural light. You have staircases that are open, so they encourage people, don't use the elevator. How about taking the staircase? For your own health and for your own appreciation of the character-defining features of an incredible building. The Fountain Hall Development Group, which includes these two wonderful ladies who are leaders for women across our country, the Fountain Hall Development Group has been blessed to be given the opportunity to take this rich asset and bring it back, only with the appreciation of Dr. James and his trustees.
Thank you so much for all your expertise and years of work in historic preservation, as they say in the Bible, for just such a time as this. I would like to thank the Westside Future Fund for having this esteemed panel. We ask you that you go out to our website, fountainhallatl.org, and give to the building. But more importantly, if we don't have that accreditation and we have giving to Morris Brown College, we won't have the hard reset. So please go to morrisbrown.edu and click on donate. And as we work together to rebuild Black Main Street, Atlanta's MLK, the best MLK, we'll work towards restoring Fountain Hall, Gaines Hall, Ferber Cottage, Pascal's, all of Clark Atlanta University properties, the Ashby Street Theater with the Atlanta Business League, and we want to look to celebrate Booker T. Washington and all of its assets on its 100th anniversary in 2024 with its first principal, who was a graduate of Morris Brown, Dr. Charles Harper. Thank you again, and please join us in this effort. Become a friend of Fountain Hall.
Thank you, Dr. Tate and the panelists. And if y'all want to come on down, we'll go ahead and close out our show.
Okay.
We'll let y'all exit with appreciation. You know, we're still finding our way with our virtual broadcast, so thank you. And my co-hosts are going to join me, Ebony and Benjamin. But I want to give a huge thanks again to Dr. Candy Tate, along to Dr. James, Dr. Cohen, Dr. Ballton, and Mr. Henderson. Thank you, because you had so much information, so much to share, and we had to do that in kind of a truncated time. But thank you so much. You know, and I know, as you know, Dr. Tate, this is the first program we've had about Fountain Hall, so thank you for bringing that. And as a native Atlantan, now living on the West Side, what I really appreciate and what I get inspired about is saving these historic structures is about remembering and honoring the people who were in them, and how they elevated our city, how they elevated our country, and how, you know, in terms of the contributions they made. Because sometimes a lot of history can be some things you don't really want to remember, but that's not the case on this West Side history.
Absolutely.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I know we'll have more to come on Atlanta's Black Main Street.
Absolutely.
So with that, I think we're to the ending of our broadcast. Thank you for watching this morning. We're going to turn to our winners.
Absolutely.
Of the drawing of the Home Depot gift card and the Goodwill gift card. So
Absolutely.
I'll turn to.
And also, if you will give me just about 10 seconds of latitude, my mother is watching from Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, hi,
Today's
Mom.
her birthday.
Hey, Mama, happy birthday.
Patricia Ford.
Happy birthday.
She got us on Facebook and YouTube. She's got it pulled up everywhere. So happy 65th birthday to my mommy Pooh. Y'all don't laugh at me. That is what I call her, even though I'm 44 years old. So happy birthday. Thank you for that. And without further ado, the Home Depot gift card drawing, as everyone, or some people do know, Home Depot gives away literally millions of dollars for the revitalization of the West Side. And today they are also giving away a gift card. And the winner of that gift card is Mr. Kevin Dorival. Mr. Kevin Dorival, congratulations. And also Goodwill of North Georgia is also giving away a gift card today. Goodwill puts people to work. That's what they do. And they're building a new location on the West Side. We're very, very fortunate for that. It's coming up soon, probably later this year or earlier next year. And they are, again, giving something away today. And the winner of their Goodwill of North Georgia gift card is Katie Gore, Miss Katie Gore. It's Katie or Caddy. Miss Gore, excuse me for messing up your name. Congratulations to our two winners.
All right, congrats to our winners. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back on October 15th. Absolutely. Until then, y'all take care. Stay safe. Appreciate you.
We didn't.